There's really such an incredible amount of blessing that can come out of just treating people right.
It's easy to want to focus on a pain point, but where you feel pain is not always what you're trying to solve.
We have to be proud to put our logo on all of our work. And if we're not, we shouldn't do it.
So if I go do really hard, scary things on the weekend, I come back to this thing and it seems pretty normal. I'm not going to die today doing this job.
Being able to make mistakes, sometimes expensive mistakes, is important. And without the ability to do that, it's hard to learn and to take risks that can be highly beneficial risks.
I feel like we just captured a breaking news moment. How did those sales go? What happens in that situation then? Tell us about it though. What does that mean? Why did you get into that? How do you use it? In a world where software eats everything, designing a great user experience has become the silent differentiator. Look at companies like Figma, which Adobe attempted to acquire for $20 billion in 2022, or HubSpot, which has built a market cap approaching $30 billion, largely on making complex sales and marketing processes more intuitive. These valuations reflect a simple truth that Airbnb co-founder Brian Chesky once articulated. It's better to have 100 people love you than to have 1 million people kind of like you. When software is easy to use and creates genuine delight, people actually use it. When it's complicated, even the best features gather digital dust. This principle matters enormously in solar, where the sales process has become increasingly complex. Gone are the days in many states when a solar rep could simply knock a door, promise savings, and easily close a deal with simple financing pitches. Today's solar salespeople need to navigate an intricate landscape of changing tax credits, depreciation, domestic content requirements, and evolving net metering policies. They have to explain multiple financing options sometimes, like PPAs, leases, loans, cash purchases. They need to understand technical components from panels and inverters to batteries and EV charging. Many need to discuss electrical upgrades, structural assessments, and utility interconnection processes. This growing complexity means sales reps are spending more time educating customers about increasingly technical details. And in this environment, clunky software isn't just inconvenient, it's a competitive disadvantage. The most successful solar companies are recognizing that intuitive software design directly impacts their bottom line. When sales tools are easy to navigate, reps can focus on building relationships and closing deals instead of fighting with technology. This user-first philosophy drives everything at Pipe Solar. Founded by Do Jin, the company has built its reputation on creating software that sales teams actually want to use. What makes Do's approach particularly interesting is his background. He didn't come from solar. He was an accountant who saw opportunity in the public markets and taught himself the industry from the ground up. This outside perspective proved valuable. Rather than accepting industry norms about how software should work, Do approached the challenge with fresh eyes, asking fundamental questions about user flow and experience. His meticulous attention to detail around usability stems from understanding that solar salespeople already have enough to learn. Their tools shouldn't add to that burden. Do's journey to solar began in Korea, where he was born, before moving to the United States as a teenager. His family runs a small restaurant business, giving him early exposure to entrepreneurship. After building a career in accounting and finance, he recognized solar's potential and made the leap, driven by both the environmental impact and the business opportunity. At Pipe Solar, Do has prioritized customization and user experience over flashy features or massive funding rounds. The result is software that helps sales teams scale efficiently while maintaining the personal touch that defines successful solar companies. Today, we'll explore with Do why user experience matters so much in the solar sales process and the software that they use, how his accounting background informs his approach to building tools for the industry, and where he sees the future of solar sales heading as technology and complexity continue to evolve. Welcome to When Life Gives You Lumens, Do. Great to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to start out with asking you about user experience and why is it so important to you personally?
That's a great question. So we prioritize user experience as primary focus when we're building products. I think it's mainly driven by becoming a user myself on everyday lives. I think if certain things can be simplified into few things, I personally enjoy them. So I take that approach and kind of translate into our user products, and it's worked pretty well.
Now, when you think about UX, right, the user's flow, how does that directly impact adoption for solar sales? How have you seen that play out in your experience with contractors?
Yeah, so solar sales itself is pretty complex. I think you've mentioned you have to understand the products and how inverter works, modules work. You have to create a proposal with the certain designs, with certain system size. Sheeting also plays a role. Curate a list of financing options that fits the customer's needs, sign the customer's documents, and then submit a deal. So having that simplified process for our users have really helped kind of adoption where they will just get a login and we have a step-by-step approach. So they will be guided on each way of the steps and they will actually go from creating a proposal to design, sign docs, and submitting a deal in pretty fast adoption rate. So we've seen higher closing rates, we've seen higher or reduction in change orders and just high adoption rate as far as the platforms.
I want to dig into the origin of this for you, but before we go there, how did you learn to prioritize user experience? What shaped that philosophy for you?
I also ask myself that question a lot. Where did that come from? And I think you've asked me that question when we met up in DC, and I actually thought about this a lot after the conversation. I think partially it's my dad. He was a businessman, and he would always teach me on how certain things work, why the grocery shelf is positioned a certain way, eye levels, what their margin is, and he emphasized a lot about like customer satisfaction, but also my inspiration comes from Jeff Bezos. He has very, very insightful thoughts and ideas regarding this in his shareholders' letters, but also Steve Jobs. Those two individual visionary has prioritized satisfaction over anything, and it really resonated with me a lot. And it just clicked to me whenever they talk about those user experience. It just resonated with me. So I think it's nurture and a little bit of a nature, I think. But yeah.
When you sit down to develop product for Pipe, how does that philosophy, those narratives of the individuals that you just talked about, what you've learned growing up with your dad's businesses, right? You're sitting down at the computer, you're starting to build the next product, you're getting customer feedback. How does UI UX, how does the customer experience play out into that workflow that you're now building?
Yeah. So I personally am in charge of the UI. I'm not actually designing it, but I have a very big I dictate a lot of it. So I personally would draw out the customer's journey. If I'm trying to create a design, what will be my ideal steps? So I'll kind of draw that diagrams and then go through lots of thoughts, lots of meditation. So I really recommend close your eyes, just meditate, but you're not thinking anything, but you're just envisioning the flow, and that really helped a lot. But I would personally go in and kind of draw out the storyline and a journey, and our designers come in and developers come in and kind of complete that story.
I want to talk about this meditation because I've never heard that from you before. Take me one step before the meditation. How do
Yeah.
you get into that mode? You've got, chatbot going on over here. You've got bug over there with software. You've got, sales meeting coming up. How do you get into that position where you meditate and then almost walk me through the meditation of how that then leads to an output on the other side for your product?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of things going on during the day, and same for you as well. But it is a big part. User experience journey is a big part of the company here. So I usually prioritize and kind of block out some time. So I will block out a time, and then just it could be me sitting in a chair or sitting down on the floor. But I would just close my eyes and take a deep breath, and I would take about 30 deep breaths and then start that flow state of like, okay, if I were to start from this button here, what would be the ideal next steps? Okay, so their end goal is to achieve this. How can I shorten and streamline some processes here? And really, it's tough to explain, but it is really it's a magic, I would say, where like you come out of meditation with like, okay, so I will go straight to our notes, or I use Notion, and I would write out every single step 1, step 2, step 3, um, and kind of write out that journey. And then during that process, I would also make some edits, but usually that's how the magic happens. So if you look at our platform, or if you're existing users, pretty much everything that you see on the process that we built are driven by a meditation.
Wow. For me, it's often when I go on walks. Occasionally, I'll do like a hike up here at the reservation. We have an area near our house, but I find myself fighting to break the meditation to start writing some notes, because you go from idea to idea.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that? You don't want to forget maybe an unlock, but you also want to stay disciplined within the meditation.
That's a common side effect of using the meditation, is that all these ideas come up and you're like, oh, I gotta write this down, I gotta write this down. So I have done that where I break the meditation and write it down, but then when you try to go back in, you kind of lose the focus, and you're able to kind of go back in again. But it is a challenge. But if you're to just go over the steps repetitively, then you can definitely nail them and then write down the notes after.
When did you start this process?
It just happened naturally. First, when I first started the company, I didn't do any meditation at all. I would just kind of wing it and just tell them, designers, what to do. But I just kind of picked up on myself as I go that this is pretty much the route that I should take when it comes to designing. Yeah.
It's just gone from there. That's fascinating. Yeah. That's really, really great advice for everyone. So when we think about the onboarding process for Pipe Solar, right? What does that process look like for new users, and how does user experience play a key role in it?
Yeah, it always starts with the invitation email they receive. So we design meticulously on, even from the email they click to join the platform, to sign up, and onboarding process. There's 3 things you need to onboard with us. There's your HIC template, right? Your list of financing partners and loan products, whether it's API or manual lenders. And then third, which is your equipment list, your modules, inverters, adders. Once we have those 3, within 24 to 48 hours, you're good to go. Start selling solar.
And are there other personas that use your platform other than sales reps, or is it primarily sales reps?
So it's a mixture of the sales reps, project managers of the solar companies. I guess before that, we cater towards the sales organizations, but also the EPC and installers. Typically, installers will onboard with us and invite their own sales organizations. But we also have a different persona, such as like a third-party provider, like engineering services, site survey companies, or permitting services. So we have different personas kind of mixed into the platform, providing additional service, or whether that's project manager moving the stages, or site surveyor kind of checking the images that sales have uploaded during the knocking doors.
When we think about UI, I often think about sales reps being the persona that needs it most, because of the complexity of their roles, but also the stereotype of what a sales rep is, which is maybe less tech enabled, more fast, less detail oriented, right? And that's not universal. It's fascinating to hear how a sales rep would navigate your platform, but there's other personas that also live within it. Do you ever get feedback from different ones talking about one UI versus another? And maybe, as you think about your future build, who are you building for?
Yeah, when we first pipe, it was just the CRM, project management, and then we started building the proposal side, which is the point of sale side. So once we're building this out, we were getting tons of feedbacks. Why don't you build this? Why don't you build that? And what we do very, very exceptionally well is gathering their feedbacks. And every solar company owners will have my phone number. They will give me a call. Some people abuse it. Some people are very respectful about it. Some people are, very chill. But So when we first started building the sales part, we got tons of feedbacks, build this, build that. So we felt pretty good after a certain time has passed. And then we started working on the project management, and we started getting tons of feedbacks as well. And then we worked on the customer portal where customers can stay connected and check the progress and also give you guys referrals and reviews. So we were getting some good feedbacks, even from the customer. Yeah, I had a customer call me, homeowner call me. Oh, are you pipe? I'm actually a homeowner. I said, how'd you get my number? But I also got some feedbacks from him as well. Um, so what was your question? Sorry.
It's okay. When you're building for different personas and you think about getting feedback from sales or from non-sales people, how does that
UI.
influence your process? Yeah.
Yeah. So, we would build it block by block, feature by feature. So we definitely go through high feedback rate and we just iterate a ton and then we just move on to the next ones. I would say for the ones that we completed, which are sales, project management, customer portals, we feel really, really good about it now. Now we're kind of transitioning into like different features that they have requested, which is home improvement, monitoring, and some other aspects. Yeah.
Hmm. I want to go into your upbringing a bit, right? So tell us about your background and your journey to America and going from there.
Yeah, so I came to US when I was 13 to Nashville, Tennessee. And so my family came together. So when I first got to US, I thought Nashville was pretty much what America was about, big Walmart parking lot, a lot of parking lots anywhere you go, pretty country, right? And so that was kind of like my childhood. I never really traveled to like New York or LA until I was in college. So I had a very big southern root and I used to have a country accent, kid you not. And I was also, I held a position in fraternity when I went to school down in Alabama. So I was pretty rooted in that culture. But yeah, my family and I came, pretty much grew up without having to speak much Korean. He was surrounded by a lot of American people here. So that helped me a lot to adapt. So my second year in America, I actually received, although I don't really get why, I received presidential award by President Obama for excellence. And the reason for that was what was explained to me was I'm not quite sure why, but she said the way that you came here last year and you're adapting and you're kind of like adapting to the environment, making friends with everybody. And I think I also went to the baseball tryout without knowing it was a baseball tryout for middle school. I thought it was a baseball game. I didn't speak any English. I heard from the school intercom that there's a tryout this Saturday, but I thought it was like a baseball game. So I showed up with no glove, nothing, no cleats. And it was a tryout. And I actually like borrowed somebody's glove and like I've never caught a fly ball. I only play baseball with my friends in Korea, but like a backyard baseball. We don't have a proper field, like that. Never had a pop-up drill where they hit the fungo and you catch it. But I got in. I got in and I became best friends with this group of 14 people, 14 guys. They were kind of like my family every day for until middle school, high school. But um, yeah, I think it's just how I was raised up to kind of adopt really quick. And actually, my English, I'm able to articulate better than Korean, and I would think about why that is. And it's because I used to, like, I wouldn't say bullied, because I'll be the one to bully them. Just kidding. But they would make fun of my English, right? They'll make fun of my English my first, second year. And because of that, and I used to hate being picked on because of certain things that they found in me, right? So I would learn so much. I will go home, read every single like textbooks. We used to have a dictionary where you can type, the words and it tells you the Korean words, the digital dictionary. I used to like look up every single words in the textbook um, with a vengeance. And I think I'm always used to defending myself in early days of learning English. My English is very articulate, I think. And I think about this a lot too. Like, why is my English so much more articulate than like, or just describing what I think? And I think that that is the primary reason, I think.
Hmm. When you do your meditations, is it in Korean or English?
I don't speak a lot. I just
But
I just
in your head though.
I don't, I don't really speak in my head. Uh, I just imagine, like, I in my UI, literally, like kind of like a Figma in my head. Here's a button here, but I don't really think about it. Just in that in vision. But I dream in English and Korean, and there are certain times I will speak Korean, and there are certain times I speak English. But I'm not quite sure what determines what scenarios will trigger those. But yeah.
I gotta tell you, we had a Korean customer one time at Scanify. It was in our early days when we would field more international inbounds and we were more open to onboarding them. Now we're open to it, but it's a harder process to retain. And I remember distinctly bringing in a friend for a Korean translation at 11
Mm,
o'clock at night Eastern to try to win this
yeah.
tiny contractor in Korea who was building like carports at warehouses or something. It was, I don't know anything
Wow.
about the Korean solar market at this point, but I wonder if there's any opportunity there.
There's certainly an opportunity there, given that a lot of like Q sales, those companies are based there. But the market's completely different. It's very different from here.
Hmm. So after college, I know that you became an accountant. I'd love to hear about what that process was like for you, and then how that ultimately informs how you approach your days at Pipe now.
Yeah, so I was accounting and finance major, although I dropped finance because I was like, there's no point. I'm gonna become a CPA anyways. I did an internship at the Big Four accounting firm in San Jose, actually sophomore and junior year. So I was pretty exposed to the CPA accounting firm, that world. So I graduated with the accounting major, and traditionally you will get your CPA exam passed, and then you will join the firm in September. So that really helped a lot on learning about like financial statements, audits, your tax laws, etc. And back then, when I was studying for it, it was the Trump tax in 2018, I think, 2019. So it's completely different tax law here. But they actually helped a lot. When I used to work for that Big Four firm, one of my clients was DocuSign. So the team actually went through the S4, which is the initial IPO filing to the SEC, and then I actually saw the whole process. And I got to meet their president, CEO, vice presidents. And funny story, they wouldn't talk about anything at all during the meeting. They would just talk about what vacation spot they went to. And the vacation spots, it's not like a Florida or Miami. They're talking about like Greece, right? They're talking about very nice places, but it kind of exposed to that environment in a corporate world, understanding financial statements, the bottom line, the top line, really did, I think, helped a lot in further shaping my philosophy on how I should run Pipe Solar.
And then how did you find the solar industry? I know that you told me at one point you started reading public statements, but I'd love to hear that story again.
Yeah, so it's by an accident. To be truthful with you, I was shorting the stocks, and I went through, just like anybody else. I also went through a phase where, okay, like, there's some money sitting here, So I used to short a lot of stocks. One of them was EnPhase. At the time when I found EnPhase, I didn't even read what they did. I just saw the technical analysis where it was up like 800% in the last 12 months. And from what I knew, if it goes up that much, it must come down, at least retract by 50%. So that was kind of like my go-to strategy, kind of aim for pump and dump and shorting the downside. But for some reason, I was holding for 3 months, and that was kept going up. I think went up like 40, 50% for some reason. So I was okay. What is this? What does this company do? Let me look at their fundamentals. So first thing I would do is go to their 10K 10Q, which is their annual and quarterly filings from the SEC websites. And when I read it, by the way, if anybody listens here, if you want to know how certain companies operate, the best blueprint you can go is read their IPO S1 filings, but also their 10K. It tells you exactly what their risks are, what they're afraid of, what their everything. So I read their financial statements and I was like, wow, solar. So you're telling me they're projecting about 30% annual compounded growth rate for the next 10 years. You're saying that there's a tax credit of 26% at the time. The government is subsidizing or kind of giving that tax credit. And I was thinking, what are some other items that we can purchase at home that cost more than $10,000? The government is giving you a tax credit. And there wasn't that much on just consumer products. So that's interesting. So I looked at other comparable stocks such as SunPower, Sunrun, Sonova at the time, and I was like, whoa, same narrative. 30%, around 30% compound annual growth for next certain years. So this is the one. And I've always wanted to start a business. Well, not always, but I just know from just reading these financial statements, dealing with the clients at the big four firm, is that the goal, and Mark Cuban said it very well, you want to get in early, whether it's AI boom, which is happening right now, or it was dot-com bubble. Anybody that got in at dot-com bubble at the beginning and built something that, you know, given it's a good product, but if they had a good idea and actually built it, most of them were acquired, right? But the advantage was to get in early. So I thought, after doing some research, solar at the time of 2018-19 was I would say second inning, beginning at the top of the second inning. Okay, that checks the box. So my thought process will be, if I want to start this business in solar industry, what should I do? Should I do like become an EPC? I don't know anything about solar. I don't even know anything, right? Should I become like a salesperson and try to sell, make some commissions? And I say software. And the reasoning for that is from, working in San Jose, a lot of companies were software companies and their margins, right? Their gross margins, profit margins were insane. And the structure of that is you basically write some codes in the server and it's able to generate revenue when you're sleeping. Although it's more complicated now, there's a lot of stuff going on now, right? Now that I know. But so that was my thought process. And here we are 4 years later.
Wow. Well, it's very clear your financial background and your analytical background and how that parlays into your attention to detail on UI. Thank you for sharing that story. It's really fascinating. I think we've talked about this before. I like to now drop 10Ks into ChatGPT and have a conversation with ChatGPT. I had done that for a stock recently, and all right, can you summarize the MD&A, management discussion analysis section of a 10K?
Yeah.
Oh, can you go back and look at the prior 2 years and do they have the same theme? And you could have this analytical conversation with ChatGPT. I'm sure other AI tools can do it as well, where you can see themes emerge further. It's a total game changer when it comes to analyzing public markets.
I mean, if you also the biggest giveaway should be how JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they're investing tens of millions of dollars into building their own on-site parameter AI bots or AI language models. And now I read an article either yesterday or this morning that Goldman Sachs is investing big time in building an AI developer in-house. And I'm sure it's for trading, their trading algorithms. So they're actually on this. They're already adopting for sure.
So why don't we touch on this subject? I'd love to get your thoughts on the future of AI, because you clearly are someone who reads extensively on where technology trends are going. So where do you think AI is going to go ultimately, and how do you see it infused into the solar industry?
I think about this a lot, and my friends and I would spend like a lot of time thinking about this. I remember last time my friends were in DC, we had 1 hour session talking to ChatGPT on the future, and personally, um, it's certainly a race right now between few companies and maybe China versus US. But personally, what I see is a lot of code that we write manually will be replaced 80% to 90% in next 3-5 years. I think companies that don't adopt on using AI in some sort will be kind of left behind in terms of speed and adoption rate. As far as everyday consumers, it will be completely different learning for education institutions, learning new things. So it's real. The AI boom is real, and sometimes I think about how lucky we are to witness not only the invention of the smartphones or iPads or tablets, but also the invention and discovery of the AI. So it's very spectacular what we're witnessing as a humankind here. What would happen 5, 10 years from now? My personal prediction is that we're gonna have humanoid robots. I think Figure AI and Tesla robots, Optimus are leading the race right now. And I think these humanoid robots will be equipped with large language models where they're able to have a therapy sessions with you or become your companion buddies, but also fold your laundries, do your dishes. So, and then of course, autonomous taxi. So I think Uber, they will start investing into kind of actually shipping the wheelless cars. But it's here, it's happening, and I don't think we actually understand what's going to happen in the next 5, 10 years.
I agree with you on the humanoids, by the way. I've been reading up about it, and I don't think my grandkids will ever do dishes, load the dishwasher, or fold laundry, and I don't care.
There's so I have a friend here. She's also a startup founder. Her boyfriend is actually pretty high up in Optimus division, which is Tesla's robotics. I think he's like number 4, number 5. Um,
Don't say anything
and
you can't walk back publicly. Just want to flag that,
so I
okay?
would I would ask him so many questions, right? So I would ask him so many questions whenever we were together. And basically, what he's saying is right now, it's not good. It's not good right now. Fun fact, they used to, people think that they're using AI for their humanoid robots to walk and grab things, but it was all statically written codes. And they're now trying to do AI where they can walk, grab things driven by the GPUs. But he and I talked about this on the future. Basically, what he thinks is that you'll start seeing them. So it really depends on the regulatory approvals by the federal government. But you will start seeing them in the Whole Foods or your grocery stores. You'll start seeing them picking up your kids from your soccer practice, baseball practice, and it will be everyday life. And it really comes down to the government giving a okay sign to do that. But yeah, it's kind of scary.
When you talked about gratefulness that we're going to be living through it, I'm also grateful that we are old enough to appreciate it and old enough to have developed the skills before it, right? I think of like writing, professional writing skills, or knowing how to build certain things. It's like people who are around our age don't know how to read maps, right? They have no
Yeah,
concept of map reading. And I guess
yeah,
the question is that a skill that's necessary, right? But then are we going to be asking in 10 years, is this skill of writing necessary, right? Kind of like how
yeah,
spelling has fallen out. Like I'm an awful speller. It's not a priority, right? Nothing I write needs
yeah,
great spelling,
yeah,
within reason, right? So,
yeah,
we are going to be living through the evolution of it. And I think we will benefit from it as a result, whereas I think many others will be left behind as a result.
yeah. I read an article very recently. It was a study by a very prominent university. I don't want to say it's MIT, maybe it is. Uh, but they came out with a study that says for teenagers at a certain age, using ChatGPT or chatbots would actually make it dumber. And they use the word dumber in the headlines. Maybe I'm not sure how extensive the study was or whatever it was, but I think they're coming out with some reports that it does make us think less, I think. Critical
Absolutely,
thinking.
absolutely, absolutely. Talk to me about
Yeah.
where you think AI is going in solar or solar sales.
So I think about this often too, and I think what you guys are doing with Scanify and AI is actually very spot on. I think I share with you. I also try to, because I believe in what it's going to be like with solar and AI. I actually started building this, and I was like, this is too much. So, but you guys are doing this very well now, which is the AI design tool, where you put the address in, and you guys are able to kind of get the imagery of the satellite, roof lines, and then estimate the tilt, azimuth, apply the lidar sources, and then apply shading, irradiance, and then pretty much provide optimal design that the homeowners can get within 10 seconds or less. I think that will be the primary use of AI in the solar sales and designing. I think in terms of other areas, maybe, and this is something we're doing, is using AI to kind of go through all the financing options for the customers. So whether you're using Guleap or Dividend, Sunlight, Sungage, or Lightreach, it's able to kind of parse through all the options and then kind of curate the list of recommended options for the homeowners. And then another aspect that I see is the engineering and permitting. So I actually have another company that I co-founded with another permitting company here. It is to automate using the AI agent on filing permits. But I also see this applicable and similar use case and application in the engineering side, where you can kind of provide some inputs on this address, DXF files, maybe CAD files, and then it's able to output stamp-ready plan sets. So a lot of areas, and somebody's got to work on this for sure.
I think it's going to infiltrate a bunch of areas. Our industry, though, has a typical debate among what accuracy entails, right? And there's going to be an interesting balance of how good AI will get and how quickly versus what the reality is. And that's something that we're consistently quantifying with our AI to make sure that we can transparently say its quality level versus a human designer or a drone-based human design experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think in anything in life, when you have a new concept introduced, it's driven by capitalism. I think Scanify is doing a great job building and improving the AI. There will come a time, whether it's 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, where your AI design will start going from 94% accuracy, 95, 96, 97. And I think there will come a point where it's, but it's only as good as the data that's input. And I think the data input will be much more improved. So I think you guys will be winning the race. I personally think.
Thank you. Yeah, that's our goal. I think, for us, accuracy is what fits perfectly on install day, which I think is a much higher bar than many other companies. And so, our goal is to try to quantify accuracy compared to that, and then also compared to a closing sale process. In a recent study that we did, we ended up seeing that most of the areas where our accuracy is compromised with AI is because of imagery related to trees overhanging the roof and shading and shadows affecting coloring, right? If a lot of AI is using computer vision, but the underlying imagery is highly compromised, that's actually where we're seeing it struggle the most, which makes sense, right? That's it's tough to determine the roof outlines when they're covered. So we're working on things to navigate that process.
Looking forward to it.
So I'd love to just get a sense as we're wrapping up here with where you want to take Pipe Solar into the future. Obviously, you have a really strong bent on it continuing to be a great user experience. There's ways you're integrating AI and other technologies and through our partnership. Where are you thinking of taking Pipe, and where do you see the future of it going?
Yeah, so as far as the solar side, we feel pretty good on our product offering and the suites of products that we give it to the customers. We have seen some uptick in some requests on building some the HI features, home improvement features, such as roofing, windows, HVAC systems. And luckily, we built HI features about 1.5 years ago for this customer in Texas. So we feel pretty good positioned. So we are kind of spending some time to curating and building a proposal page similar to proposal in the solar. If you go like Roofle or Roofer, these roofing softwares, if you look at their proposal PDF, it's really, really not good. And if you go to solar, it's proposal page is all you need to like design, sign, and run the financing. So we're going to apply the same concept in the roofing and then HI proposals. We're going to spend some time here, but one thing that we lacked is Pipe. And I feel really good about like our project management, customer portals, point of sales was the design part. So one thing that when I share this with you, Jason, is that only thing Pipe needs is a very good solid designing source, because our legacy design tool was not using LiDAR or irradiance or some sort. It's 2D. So once we shipped this feature, which we did, I feel much better. So it's just, I'm very, very happy with like what we built here. And so I guess we'll just continue to improve our solar suites, but also kind of dive into roofing and HVAC side.
Yeah, I love that forecast and belief of where you're going. We're seeing it happen all around us. We actually just talked about it as a company. I personally think the future of solar, especially DG solar, is field services, home electrification, home improvement. We're seeing our customers open up HVAC divisions, roofing divisions, battery efforts. I mean, I don't think most solar installers will be solar only going forward. I
Hmm.
think the smallest ones will be, and they'll be the ones where business is sub to them or just really niche local groups. But I think most of the larger groups, not the nationals, but the regional leaders, I think the groups that are going to survive this market condition are not going to be solar companies anymore. They're going to be broader built environment or home improvement plays. And I think that's where the industry is
Yeah.
going to be in a few years, regardless of technology, AI, and anything. I think it's just a natural expansion of their business model.
Yeah, agreed, for sure.
All right, so our final question is I'd love to get a sense for your prediction for where the future of solar sales is going. We covered technology, we covered pipe. You know, where is sales going and that sales motion going in solar?
Yeah. Um, People used to think that regulation will be coming down upon the industry where they have to start registering their sales ID, etc. And I think that is kind of happening in some sort with recheck being introduced and Goodleap implementing recheck along with other financing groups. But as far as the sales, so the future of sales, solar sales, I would say a little bit of more regulations that we have now. Um, and being able to understand the product very well because you're not selling on the savings anymore after the BBB. I think they have to be more equipped with the knowledge and the benefits of going solar. Maybe tying in the battery will produce this and that benefits. If the grid goes down, you'll be protected. So I think that's the shift in the sales pitch from the savings, how much are you paying now? Oh, we could give you the savings, to more value driven. That also means a lot of unethical sales reps that just goes and wear the utility vest and say, well, I'm here for the inspections. How much are you paying? There's a program that saves you money. I think those people will be reduced for sure. So hopefully we'll see some reduction in those unethical sales in the future.
I certainly hope you're right when it comes to obviously there's the stereotypical line of the solar bro or individuals who aren't focused on selling the right way. I like to say that solar of the last decade has all been about who's got the fancy proposal and the fancy talk track of savings at the door knock, right? Whereas
Yeah.
I'd like to return back to our roots in solar of a more educational consultative process, a more oriented, a more customer centric process where people talked through what it means to go solar and didn't rush a sale. So I think
Yeah.
we're aligned in where we hope the industry goes in the future. And I think technology is going to be a big play.
Yes.
So Do, thank you so much for your time and your insight. Your journey from Korea and getting into the solar industry is inspiring. Your perspective on technology, especially how AI can influence us, is really well founded. I love learning about your meditation strategy and your viewpoint of where our industry is going to go, especially from a sales and customer experience perspective, something we can all learn from. So excited for our continued partnership and best of luck in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me.